welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. With 4 race starts, we're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders. In green, our Category 2. In blue, Category 3. And Category 4 in red.
We see them move, and this pack is absolutely motoring up this climb at the moment. No one wants to be dropped from this group.
Nobody wants to be dropped. You don't want to be on the back. You don't want to be the wrong side of a split as well.
This is the Category 2 race, and they are working their way onto the back of the Category 4 race, which started 10 minutes before they did.
You know that she's strong. You know that that is a wheel to watch. But Dara has jumped on board. Look at the kick there.
Yeah, that was a huge kick, and she's back right off, but that kick has put her in the right place. Columbi, Fua and Erevek, the 3 riders who went away clear. That's the chase group behind. They had 12-second gap at one point, but now they are coming back onto the wheel to make a group of 6. Which group comes in first is going to be really interesting. Are we going to see Vink come in before the rest, or are we going to see this Category 1 race field charge towards the finish line?
We are hitting the finishing line here as we come in. Ella Vink takes the win. Qualifier race number 1. Solo victory. So hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It's Qualifier Race number 2, the 12th of November 2023. The time is flying by towards the end of the year, but we've still got plenty of qualification opportunities on the Race Club. My name's Matt Payne. I'm going to be bringing you all of the race action, and today I'm flying solo. It's back like old days. It's like the old school, but with modern tech and esports and things. Because we've got no Emma. Emma Martin, my co-host, is currently on UCI duty. She's going to be bringing the World Championship, UCI World Championship XCE. That's the mountain bike eliminator. And that's going to be available to watch. But you're not allowed to go anywhere until you've watched the women's and men's races today. Obviously on MyWhoosh as well. But Emma will be doing that. So I'm going to be watching that later on and seeing all the action. Going to be great to catch up with that. Whether it'll be as exciting as the action we've got here in Arabia, well, I'll leave that for you to decide. And I think our riders, well, they think it's going to be a tough one today because we have the classic Jebel Hafid course, my favourite climb in Arabia. I know I don't say that when Emma's around, but don't tell her. But actually, I do quite enjoy going up the big climbs, but we're not going to let anyone into that secret, particularly Emma when she's not here. So we have 2 segmented climbs. We've got the Aquarium Climb 1 coming at the 9.5 kilometres. That's 3.5k long. And then we have the second of our climbs, the Category 1 climb of the Jebel Hafid. In between, we have the 5 sprint sections, the segments, and they will give us a snapshot on the racing. Each of those segments 300 meters long. Now, one of the key things with the course is to remember that in the climbs, it's not all the climbing. On those segmented sections, there is a big dip and raise immediately after the Aquarium climb that really can break the racing up. And then the gap from the Silent Dune sprint all the way to the Al Ain sprint, where we have the start of that World Heritage, the UNESCO World Heritage site of Al Ain, onto the climb. That section there is going to be critical to stay in with the group. So going to be selections made before we get into and over the Aquarium climb. Let's see who's going to be there. 4 race categories as always on the Sunday Race Club, with our categories 1, 2, 3 and 4 lined up in yellow, green, blue and red. And category 4 will be going first. 5 minutes, as you can see, between each of our race categories. And the riders in category 4 lined up on the line here. We've got Cynthia Neves of the Volcano team in here today. And great to see our riders representing their teams. And of course, the team's putting on racing as well. So make sure that you go on one of their rides. Go jump on board with them. It's always great to chat. We've been jumping on with a few of the teams over the last week and catching up with the riders, which is always fun. So into the final countdown. First of our categories away, Category 4, our standard level competition here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It's qualifier race number 2. We're into those final few seconds. Time to get the power downs and get a flying start out from the pens, and away go our riders. It's Sunday Race Club. It's a qualifier 2. It is Category 4, and we have 35 kilometers and 905 meters of elevation gain across the course, which means that these riders are going to have to be smart about where they use their energy. Use it carefully, not go too hard at the start, but hard enough to go out with the pack. So as you can see, the riders setting off already at the front, just a little bit of a pace being injected as the riders keep coming through. You can see from the overhead shot that churn, the move around of people. One rider just a little bit further back, it looks sort of like Katrina May Ruby just squeezing onto the back of that group. I think we've also got a little bit of a push from one or two riders behind. You can see on the left-hand side of your screen the satellite navigation view, which is a bit like having your own personal radar. That is telling us that we have one rider just detached from the group at the moment, and the gap is starting to open up. So even without looking behind, which our riders could do, they're able to see where our riders are. So the riders out and away. We currently have just over a minute on the clock. We're approaching the 1 kilometer marker very shortly, and our riders, one main pack in Category 4, one rider behind, just being distanced. Now let's take you through the screen, because I know we have new viewers every week. If you just join us, welcome to the Sunday Race Club. It's great to have you on board. Hopefully we're going to keep you entertained throughout the show, and we're going to be able to explain and show you what's happening. So all of our riders in the same category wearing the same colour jerseys to start off with. They will be awarded a green skin suit for the sprint points on the way through those 5 sprints. There will be a polka dot skin suit being awarded to one of the riders, maybe the same rider, of course, for the climbs. That's for the climb of the Aquarium climb, which is Category 4, and of the Jebel Hafit climb, which is the Category 1 climb. So that will be the polka dot skin suit. The riders make the way through. The prizes are all about being first over the line. It's a scratch race, as it's known, so it's all about being the first rider across the line at the very end of the 35 kilometers. On the screens, we've got lots of rider data and lots of race data as well. So you can see that we are at the moment watching Sarasuk, one of our regular riders in here, took nicely in with the group here in Category 4. One of our regular riders, one of the riders that we know is going to be in the mix. People like Katrina May Ruby could well be up there today. It's been always in the mix. Salama Al-Kabi in there. We've got Kirchner, we've got Flores. Definitely watch out for Nicola Lloyd, always a very strong rider and could go well on this climb. Bridget Bremner in here as well, so another of our really strong regular riders on MyWhoosh. And you can see the names on the right hand side indicating the riders that we're watching. So the rider we're watching is the rider with the blue banner, and you can see that moving up and down through the race field. The riders' details, well, they're all up dead center at the top. So you can see at the moment we have lap number 101. We traveled distances 1.9 kilometers of the 35k. You can see that we've done 3 minutes 30 in terms of moving time at the moment. The watts are shown in green. Green is good. White is in the wind. That's the easy way to remember it. So green is good. It means that you're in the draft. You're saving effort and energy. As you can see now, moving into the front, going into the white, because that is where, as we see Grace Paolo go through, she's on the front of the group. She's getting the breeze come through. That means she's doing the work. She's cutting through the wind, and everybody behind her will be saving energy. Now, the pedal cadence, that's the revs. The heart rate is very self-explanatory. That's going to rocket upwards as we go through the big efforts. Let's see how Category 4 progress. We'll take you through the rest of the screen when we've got our Category 3 riders away. They're lined up, ready to go. Now, field of 21 riders in here. And we're in with Christina Arias and the Hub Zone, as well as Team Golden Light down in here. The Hub Zone with Gina De Gracia, Rona Tangulon, and Jenny Tan. Very, very strong. And great to see the riders riding as a team early. One of the big advantages is they can contain their conversation on their own channel within the game. So if you're riding and you're in the same team, you can set the channel to talk to your teammates and your teammates only, which means you can plan an attack. Giving away all of my race secrets here. Well, there's a surprise. So in with the second of our categories, Category 3, setting off 5 minutes after Category 4. They'll be looking to close them down and pass them before we get to the finish. Away go Category 3, and this is about kicking out from the start. Now, we do see riders distanced it's very easy to lose the race in the first kilometre or so. It's not so easy to win it in the first kilometre, and that is all about being in the group, making sure that you're not distanced and that you stay in that draft. You don't do too much work on the front, but it's better to do too much and be on the front than do too little and have that gap open, because as everybody knows, when you go through the air, you're pushing through that air, you're having to use energy to do that. The easy analogy is if you wind down your car window and you're traveling along at 30 kilometers an hour, which is where we are at the moment. In fact, we're up to 40 kilometers an hour, and so we accelerate up. So do 40 kilometers an hour in your car, put your hand out the window. It's going to get blown backwards pretty quickly. Do it safely. We don't want you going flying off down the road. Then hide it behind the mirror where you can look back, and suddenly there's less force on your hand. And that is exactly the same when you're riding the bike. So when you're hiding behind a rider, I have a good friend, Ian, who I regularly ride with. He's actually out in France at studios at the moment. And I would be hiding behind him for all I'm worth into a headwind. Unfortunately, he's a little bit shorter than I am. Well, he's quite a lot shorter than I am, really. And it means that I'm going to still catch some of the wind. He can hide behind me quite well. And he'll hide in there as much as possible, and it saves energy. So it's not just about doing it for yourself. It means you've got energy for later, and if there's two of you, that might mean that you can ride stronger. The more riders you have, so if, for example, Ian was going out with some friends in France and was riding with 4 people, he'd be able to shelter behind 4 people. There's a lot more shelter. When you get into the pack here, so we're in with Carolina Alzi. She's going to get a lot of shelter. There are 20 riders pretty much to shelter behind, and that means that the pack will move faster, using less energy on the front. But if you are off the back, you're going to be in trouble, because you have to do all of that work through the wind, and it is a substantial saving in the wind. So category 3 chasing category 4 on the way through, currently at 1.2 kilometers. We can see it on the top of our screen, and we can also see that on the left of our screen. So you can see the circular radar view, the satellite navigation view that like you would have in your car. You can see that our group of riders are represented by the blue discs. The rider we're watching is the biggest blue disc, and if they're all together, it will look like one big blob, and that is what everyone's looking. We're looking for one solid bunch. That keeps it nice and smooth. When the pressure is on, it will line out as you would see outdoors or on the velodrome, and it will be one long line. And that means that the pressure is really on, and that is reflected on the screen. If somebody's distanced, then they will go backwards from there. If there's somebody on the breakaway on the front, they'll go off the front of that blob. You can see that the distance we've covered is on there, and the speed as well. Currently traveling at 40 kilometers an hour. If you're working Imperial, it's about 25 miles an hour if you're old school. Now, right-hand side, we mentioned that the rider we're watching is on there in the blue. The riders around, as you can see at the moment, are all with blue jerseys. So that means that all are Category 3 riders. That will change when the categories get mixed up if they catch each other. And you can see on there the watts per kilo. Now, that is the absolutely the most critical number on the entire screen, pretty much, when you're racing, because that tells you the power that is being put down relative to the weight. And when we hit the climbs, that is going to be key. So for sprinting, you might be able to put down something like 10-15 watts per kilo as you go flying through the sprint for 15, 20, 30 seconds. But you're not going to be able to do that for a big, long climb like the Jebel Hafid, which goes on for 9.5 kilometers. And that's why when we go onto those climbs, we're watching that watts per kilo, because even 0.1 of a watt per kilo will make a difference. It's a key indicator. Now, if you were riding outside, you'd be able to see that. As you can see, whichever group you're watching, whether that's category 4, 3, 2, or 1, you can see the avatar, but you don't know what that rider looks like, because, of course, we've got riders from around the globe. Category 2 are waiting to start. We're going to get them away because those 5 minutes are ticking by very quickly. Category 2, big field, 22 riders as well. The Grandmind Gear squad, well, represented by Hadlock, by Howeiler, and by Kekkonen, are definitely riders where we know they're going to be in there. But Elevink, winner of last week, up into category 2. We've got Sandstrom in here, Walkenhurst. We've got Litton, Giannatti in here. We've got Smithers, Zabala, Sanchez, Schroeder, McClure, Barragan. It is a real cast. And because the categories are so close in ability, any rider in any category could take victory here in qualifier number 2, with 2 qualifying rides to take them to the final. Who's going to be able to show what they've got today here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club? It's qualifier number 2. It's category 2. It's up in ultimate category on to the race route, away from the boardwalks through the lush vegetation here across into the city next, before we head out into the desert and across to Al Ain, across to that World Heritage Site, and on to the amazing climb of the Jebel Hafid, that fantastic work of civil engineering that takes you right to the summit. And it is a fantastic road. One day I will ride it. If we're really end up having a bad day, somebody might even take a camera and film it. But they'll probably run out of film before I'm even halfway up, if you see what I mean, because it's going to be going probably a little bit slow. So this group away, category 2, on the move, and looking good at the moment. It's still pretty much one pack. We've got one rider just distanced off the back, and you can see that gap is starting to open up at the moment. You've got to work real quick. If you do get distance, if you don't move, you don't react fast, you're just going to really struggle to get back into that group. And our riders, well, they should be in that pack from the start. Everybody knows that you've got to get the pressure down. A lot of the riders are doing the homework, and if you have been watching the shows, or you're watching this one, because you are trying to make sure that you know what's going to be going on, then give us a watch. But it looks like Tanya Howala, unusually for Tanya Howala, not right up with the pack from the start. Now, could be that Tanya has got a choice. We do have, of course, multiple qualifiers in the month, and the qualification, well, it's about having 2 qualifying rides within the month to make it into the final. So you have to finish 2 of the races and those results be verified to go into the final. And because the Sunday Race Club is the highest level of racing, because we are awarding such a big prize fund every single week, every month, every time, right the way through the year, that is a pretty strict process. Please do jump on board MyWhoosh.com and have a look at that. If you've any doubts about just how fair it is, about things like the weigh-in, when that's going to be post-race after the finals, what you've got to do for your power passport, what's going to happen if you, for example, don't do a good ride, or you don't try hard enough in your power passport, then magically you get even quicker during the racing. All these things are addressed in there. And of course, you can find out more information from the team at MyWhoosh. They're always great at answering questions. You've got questions, send it into the teams. Jump on board the Facebook page, put it in there, and they will be back and answer, which is fantastic to be able to get that feedback and that conversation with real people. Really, really important. So our riders away in category 2, just coming in through the Ferrari garage here as they make their way through the world to here. Some historic Ferraris on the side, both racing and for the road, from Formula 1 right the way through to enjoying yourself out on a sunny day with the top down in the car. As the riders make their way in and through, you can see those UCI banners on the side denoting the esports partner until 2026. And our pack of category 2, well, they've still got that gap. They're approaching the first of those UCI banners. This is for the first sprint. This is the Aldar HQ sprint. Our sprints, well, they are a snapshot on the racing in the MyWhoosh Championships, where there was a $1 million prize fund. I'll say that again, $1 million prize fund last year in the 2023. It's the start of this year, but basically the last championship we had a $1 million prize fund split equally between men and women, as it has always been on the Sunday Race Club. It's also, quick reminder, that the prize fund is there week in, week out. It's not something that we have could just come in and go in. The Sunday Race Club prize fund is there week in, week out. We have the $1 million championships. So it is looking after the riders, and the riders going through the sprints don't need the sprints today for their prize fund. They need the power for the climb, I would suggest. Let's see what our category 1 do. They are the top of the tree, the absolute cream of the crop, and there are some incredibly fast riders in here. We have the Risky Biscuits, don't want no crumbs today. We've got the Sunday crew in here as well. Let's see if Jenny Daniel can take out the race, or will it be those Biscuits, Coyston and Fuhr and Bjarhead? They have a real cast of riders with them, including Selene Columbi, who could well excel on this climb. It really is into her territory. But Anna Embring is on form. I don't think I've seen Madonna Dega-Mashandi climbing as well. She is now. She's absolutely flying. So is Kasani and Kalman. Lamkong really in here. We're away. It's Sunday Race Club, Category 1. are riding their way out from the start, and it looks to me like this is a very smart start by our riders. If you look at the watts per kilo, they're going to be higher, and you can see that they're higher than the previous categories, but these riders can produce much more power. They're much more able to put the power down, and so for them, riding out of here 2.3, 3.3, 4, 5 watts per kilo, not a problem. They've got the power, they've got the pace, they have got the ability to push onwards and to be able to do so well within their comfort zone. If we look at Roberta Bassoni, who's had a great start to her racing on MyWhoosh, her heart rate at the moment is 166 beats per minute. You can see that at the top of your screen. She's in this pack, and if we look at the left-hand side of our screens, you can see that we have at least one rider distance behind the main pack. This pack in the center of that radar circle, the rider being distanced, I think, just at the side of the road, just moving along at the moment. But you can ride along. You can just ride along the ride, and that's one of the great things about MyWhoosh and all of the rides and the races, that you can jump on board, and riders are at different stages. A lot of the riders now on Sunday Race Club are racing for their position to be up there. They know that this is the premier race series on MyWhoosh. It is the series that pays money every single week of the year. It's the partner for the eSports World Championships. It's the partner for the UCI, the World Governing Body of Cycle Sport. And that means that this platform and how this platform rides is going to be really key to how people jump on board. All platforms ride differently. It doesn't matter what you've been riding on, where you ride, if you ride on multiple platforms or one. Whenever you change platform, they ride differently. How the draft feels, how it accelerates, where you go through, how much pressure you need to put on to jump back on a wheel. We see that if you ride the velodrome, if you're a track rider, you would know that if you ride an outdoor concrete 333-meter track, it's gonna feel very different when you're in a team pursuit, when you come off the front and drop back in, to if you're riding a 250-meter wooden indoor velodrome. As you go round and come up the bends and drop back in, it's a whole different way of riding, and it takes time to get used to that. And it's exactly the same here. Each discipline has its own quirks, its own riding style, and that is also true within the discipline. And of course, esports, its own discipline within cycling now, and part of the UCI. Our Category 1 riders will need to have it absolutely dialed, particularly when we move into those World Championships. It's going to be really critical. I'm really looking forward to seeing how people get on now. Category 1 on their way. They've currently covered 1.8k. Our first riders away were Category 4. Our first rider in the Category 4 race at the moment is Nicola Lloyd. She's got a 1 second gap on 2 riders behind, who are just behind her as we come on to the very first categorized climb. This is Category 4 climb of the Aquarium climb, the 3.5k climb with 2.9% the average gradient. And as you can see, Myra Madeira and Bridget Bremner have joined our race leader, making 3 riders clear at the front. We are starting to see breaks, but they've hit that climb, so they're now approaching the 10k marker of the 35 kilometers in total, and we'll catch up with them, I'm sure, in a little while. In the meantime, we're back in down at our sprints. Our riders on the way through, and you can see no one contested this, and as I alluded earlier, this is about a snapshot on the race. This tells us who is racing where and when. This is not about taking points in terms of the overall, because you don't win money for being the fastest through the sprint, but you do get the kudos and the bragging rights, and of course you can take a very cool picture of you being that rider. At the moment, it's very interesting to see that our fastest riders are our Category 1 riders. Now you say, Matt, what are you talking about? They're Category 1, of course they're fastest. Not the case. It's very much the case that quite often Category 1 will start off slower and then get faster. So if you've grown up riding on a road race scene and you've seen that there are riders racing in different categories, you'll often know that the juniors set off super fast, and the lower categories, in the UK that'd be Category 3 or 4, set off like lunatics and then slow down. The professionals and the elite riders, they just get quicker and quicker and quicker, and that means that you've got to do that now. Sophie Giovanni here going through. You can see her average watts, 200 watts, heart rate 146, indicates not really going for this. And also, you look at the times, 28 seconds for a flat section, not exactly super quick, but all Category 1 riders up there showing that today they definitely mean business. And at the moment, the whole of that pack is moving through very quickly indeed. Really interesting to see that the whole pack going through quickly. Now, if you want to catch up with the full sets of results, don't forget you can go on to MyWhoosh.com. You go on to the menu at the side and hit results, and you will see on there that we currently have the live race in progress. And you can go in there and you can select a multitude of selections. So we could go on to the Aldar HQ Sprint, for example. We can see that Giovanni had taken the win, as we saw on our screens. But you could also scroll down and work out that the fastest rider in Category 2, for example, was Stefania Sanchez. But her time almost identical, and her heart rate 155. She was in 11th place, and then it's the categories 1, 2, 3, and then 4 in that order, pretty much through the first of our sprints, showing that they were riding pretty much to pace. The climb in progress for category 4 at the moment. Category 2, well, we've got a breakaway in theory. In practice, it's not working out. Ella Vink is our breakaway specialist, a rider who we know is going to go for this absolutely flat stake, because she is a breakaway specialist. She is a rider who likes to race hard from start to finish. So Vic in with category 2 group, and looking good. She certainly seems pretty smooth in that pack, but she can't get clear at the moment. We are seeing a good old kick over the top of that bridge over the rise, but we're now onto our descent coming down. So the riders on the way down into the descent. This will drop them in and down, and then we'll be heading towards that aquarium climb. Remember, the aquarium climb kicks in at 9.5. Okay, category 3 on the right of your screen. Category 2 in green, remember, category 3 in blue. Category 3, it's again another main group, but they are also heading for that climb. At the moment, they're 200 meters away from the start, and our climbs are indicated by the polka dot band. You can actually just see it on the satellite view on the left. Our riders will sit in front of them now, and this indicates the start of the climb. There's also a polka dot banner at the end of the climb to indicate when the riders have made it there as well. And that means that the riders know exactly when it started and finished. And for the aquarium climb, yep, you can go onto that results site, onto www.mywhoosh.com, onto results, and you can pick just the climb for the aquarium climb, as well as our sprints on the way through the race circuit. But the key one is the one at the end of the race. We'll be bringing you as many of our riders as we can on the way to the finish, as well as over the finishing line. But of course, we can't cover everybody, so many riders at once. Now, back in with Ella Vink. Oh, there's a surprise. She's on the attack again. I tell you something, if you could predict one thing in a race with Ella Vink, is that she's going to be on the attack. She's going to go again. You can see she's the rider with the arrow just at the front of that race, just heading in and through. Vink pushing on hard. Montgomery, Mabin, Esdale, Schwarzstone, Kekkonen, Walkenhurst in pursuit behind. On category 1, Giovanni pushing through that sprint again, looking very, very strong. You just see she's gone in to the front of the group at the start of the sprint. Now just starts to drop back a little bit. This is another 300-meter snapshot. So the first one was the Aldar HQ sprint. We've moved to the second sprint. That is the Dubai Mile sprint. That is from 5 kilometers, 5.3k. So 300 meters of sprint complete as they go underneath the green banner. And the fastest rider before our category 1 riders hit was Monica Verona. Verona ahead of Sanchez, Kekkonen, Esdale and Vink. Who's it going to be now? Will our category 1 go quicker? They don't. Not by much, but it is there. So a runner going through 28.4 seconds. You can see London going through behind, chasing hard there on the way in and through the line. Sanchez, Sarmiento, followed by Fua, Kekkonen, Van Hoven, Embring. Kekkonen and Sanchez are regular riders in the Sunday Race Club, and I think that's given us a clear indication that Category 1 and Category 2 moving a similar pace through the Dubai Mile Sprint. And looks to me like the Risky Biscuits team with plenty of riders in that Category 1 main bunch at the moment. And that's your leading group that are on your screen. Heading away, they're going to go over the bridge across the marina here. And they're going to be taking the sweeping left and then that tighter right-hand turn. And as you can see, the height over the water increasing. A slight raise, and that's indicated top right-hand side of your screen. So one of the few bits of the screen we haven't talked about yet is that course profile on the top right-hand side. You can see we're currently at 1.1. That is 1.1%. It's not one cabbage, not 1.1 lettuce. It's not 1.5 magic beans. It's percentage gradient. So that is how steep it is. When it's going up, it's a positive number at the moment, 3.5. Personally, I think that's negative, but because it's going uphill, but there you go. Then as you go downhill, it goes into minus numbers. So it will be minus 1, 2, 3, 4, right the way up. And the gradients on MyWhoosh will range right the way up. There are some very steep sections of 18%, which will make your eyes water. I can guarantee you, they are absolutely painful out. Not too bad today on any of our climbs in terms of steepness, but because they are long climbs, that's going to take its toll. And all the undulations on the way through. And you can see that at the moment, category 1 and 2 on the top of your screen, well, they're not quite onto the climb in either 1 or 2 to the nearest and approaching that banner of the start of the climb. Categories 3 and 4, they're on the climb. Category 3, bottom left-hand side, a group of leaders, and they're heading into towards the back of category 4. The front of category 4, Bridget Bremner, absolute superstar on the front, squeezing away. Got a little bit of a gap here. It's 6 seconds to Myra Madeira, and looks like Sarasuk Lloyd, Paolo Galliano, who are all chasing behind. And they've got to keep on pushing to move up. And you'll see that within our groups, there are lots of different jerseys as well starting to appear. Those are the green skin suits and the polka dot skin suits of the riders who have taken those points. Now, there is a great phrase, points mean prizes, but today it's all about getting over the line. All 4 categories eligible for prize money, and it does vary as to which category you are in. So if you are in category 4, it's lower than category 3, 2 and 1. Let's show you that in a little bit more detail here now. So category 4, it's our standard race category, and that means that in our standard category, in our qualifier races, it's individual prizes for the top 5 riders, for qualifier races only. That means that if you are set off in the race, you come over the line first and your result is verified, you'll get 2,160 AED. It'll go down to 432 AED, still a good sum of money for 5th place. When we go to the monthly finals, you'll see we have the addition of the team classification. So 3 riders to count, maximum of 5 riders in a team. Your fastest 3 riders times added together, and that is what decides the team prize. We see that decided very frequently by times of less than a second at the end of the race. So you could see a total winning times in the region of 3.5, 4 hours, but still separated by seconds. That's how close it can get in the team competition. So well worth fighting for, because as you can see in category 4, the team classification, 10,800 AED. When we move from category 4 to category 3, that then shows exactly what I was just saying. We move up, and we move up in prizes. As you can see, what was first place is now 3rd, 2,160. Second place, 2,880. And top spot, 3,600 AED, which is a nice substantial sum to take home at the end of today's racing. And prizes for the top 5 again. And again, when we go to the team competition, even bigger prizes, but they're stepped up again to 18,000 AED for the win in category 3. When we move from category 3 to category 2, guess what? It goes up. No prizes for that. Working that bit out. Even I can do that, and my maths is shocking compared to Emma's, who's on UCI World Championship duty at the moment. So 6,000 AD for the win in category 2, 30,000 at the end of the month for the team. So is it worth getting in a team? Yeah, every single time. Get in touch with the teams, get in touch with the riders, get on board, start riding, start racing, get how it feels, and get some of the prize money. We want to get that prize money out there. It's there to be paid out. We want to see 5 teams in every single classification in categories 4, 3, 2, and in 1 out there taking that prize money. Really, really important. We want to support the sport. We want to support the riders who are racing. And this is one way we can do it. And it's great to do that. So please do get on board, jump on board, get riding, get that Power Passport done. If you're good enough, you could get yourself into, guess where? Category 1. So when we move from Category 2 to Category 1, this is the biggest jump of all, because we go up to some whoppingly bigger prizes. It's 2,000 AED in 5th. It's 4,000 AED in 4th. It's 6,000 AED in 3rd. 8,000 AED in 2nd. And 10,000. Yep, 10,000 AED in 1st place. If you win the team prize, you ready for this? In Category 1, it is 50,000. 50,000 AED. It's just absolutely ginormous. And that means that it is definitely well worth taking the win. Now, normally we have Emma's Exchange. We don't have Emma's Exchange available at the moment. And do you know why we don't have Emma's Exchange available? Because she's on world-class duty. However, we are going to take the most of this, make the most of Emma not being here, because I am going to do a little conversion here, and this is for a rider who's a teammate of Emma in esports. Aeonian rider Berdian Driscoll in Category 3 is a teammate of Emma. She's in Ireland, part of the Aeonian race team, and is on the same squad as Emma. It's women's only esports team. And Berdian Driscoll in Category 3 is the rider we're going to give the prize money for. And you can see the team are taking a look for her right now. Well done, guys. Good luck. And if she were to take away a Category 1 win, if she gets herself into Category 1 and takes away the win, €2,547 as of the exchange rate at the moment. So 10,000 AED, to give you an indication, if you work in euros, is €2,547.92. There we go. Emma's Exchange will return next week, and it will be in something that is not euros, I can guarantee it. Okay, let's drop across to the race. And we are in with Category 3. I'm going to let the team run away from trying to chase single riders all the way through. We're in with Francisco de Silva. We're on our way round the turn, and we are on our way down. You can see that top right-hand side because we're on the descent. You can see on the left-hand side that we are currently on that little flat section coming round the turn, the speed picking up. We're at 50 kilometers an hour, 30 miles an hour. At the moment, this is the leading group of Category 3 riders. They are the second group of leaders on the road. I don't think they've caught Category 4 whilst we've been showing you the prize money, but we'll get an update on that at the moment. But this contains our polka dot skin suit, and that is on the shoulders of Gentili. So Gentili are on there, and they've caught some of the riders in Category 4, but it doesn't look like they've caught quite all of them. I'm sure I've seen just above them 1 or 2 red jerseys, so there's a real mix now of riders at the very front of the road. But you can see here that they are up to 11th place. That means there's only 10 more riders in front in Category 4. Now, let's go back to Category 1. Category 1 is the top of the tree. That's that £10,000 prize, 10,000 AED prize fund. Pounds, I don't even work in that where I am in France at the moment. 2,200 odd euros, the equivalent of 10,000 AED. Catherine Fuhr putting in a big kick on the climb here. So this is the Aquarian climb. This is the climb of 3.5 kilometers of ascent. It climbs 94 meters of vertical height. So 94 meters of ascent vertical height. And that means that it is a tough climb in its own right. It's a Category 4 climb. And at the moment, it is Catherine Fuhr, a rider who's on the way back. She's in recovery. And I tell you something, I wish I could recover as quick as Catherine Fuhr. Now, don't get me wrong, Catherine is a world-class athlete. And so she's going to recover faster than most. She's absolutely flying at the moment, pushing on behind her. You can see that we're seeing yellow chevrons coming in, and the yellow and red chevrons are going into the yellow, then into the red zone, meaning those riders are really pushing as they come up that climb. Right-hand side of the screen, Category 2 come underneath the polka dot banner. They're coming underneath the aquarium climb at the moment, and that means that they are now going to head into that descent. Another group of leaders. So at the moment, we're not seeing individual riders really able to shake the tree too much. We're still seeing reasonable sized packs. And remember, When we finish the aquarium climb, we've got the descent. We then climb out from that descent up to the Silent Dune sprint. We finish the climb and then go into a long flat section out to the Al Ain sprint, which is just before the start of the main climb, which is the Jebel Hafit. Jebel Hafit coming at 25.4k. To give you an idea of scale, at the moment we're at 11.6 kilometers in category 1. 2 riders together at the front. Fua and Bassoni. Category Fua from Switzerland, Roberta Bassoni from Italy. We've got Lisa Hermansson from Sweden chasing, and you can see a real mix of flags on the way through. So Catherine 1 and Bassoni 2 just switching around the other way. They're category 1 left-hand side of your screen. On the right-hand side of your screen, we have 2 of our absolute stars of category 4. Bridget Bremner and Myra Madeira are 2 leaders, and the gap, well, it's substantial. We are looking at the moment at 30 seconds or so, half a minute between Bridget Bremner and Myra Madeira, who are chasing behind. And I tell you something, this is a good breakaway, because we know Myra Madeira can climb, Bridget Bremner can climb. Bridget Bremner wearing the polka dot skin suit of the rider who took the fastest time, because we have had 1 categorized climb so far. That's the aquarium climb. 30 seconds on the road. You can go a long, long way in 30 seconds. Just sit and count it in your head, and you're going to be bored before you get halfway, I promise you. You need to think, how far could you travel in that time? It's a long distance. These riders have got a big gap, and the riders weren't in sight behind. They're going to be focused, though, on climbing up here, because this is a substantial climb. You can see we're about to level out as we come up here. So essentially what happens, you come out of the depression. It's actually the lowest point on the course during the entire race they've just come from. You come up towards the sprint. The sprint is as it starts to level, and then it climbs again afterwards. Our riders who are on the way there, still to make the top of that climb, are category 1 riders, and Bassoni and Fua have been brought back by this group, and nobody at the moment is going too deep. We know these riders can dig much, much deeper than they are at the moment. But what the pressure, what the pace is doing, is it's losing riders 1 or 2 at a time off the back. There is attrition occurring, and you can see that on the bottom left-hand side of your screen. You've got that dot of a rider being distanced from the front of the race. That's going to make a big difference, because they're not going to get on. Once you go over the top, one of the key skills racing on esports, absolutely key skill, when you get to the top of the climb, you go over the top, and if you want a more in-depth analysis, do watch last week's shows. Emma and I went into it in depth about the skill of going over the top of a climb. Going over the top of the climb and keep the pressure on. Build the speed into the descent and use the gradient to accelerate you up to pace, and then take the rest. Do not rest the second you reach the top. Accelerate over the top, then build the speed, and then let gravity take over when you're up to speed, because the moment you stop putting that input in, your rate of acceleration goes down, and you're not going to get that gap. So you'll see that this gap is going to massively widen. It's like taking a wedge and smashing it in with a big sledgehammer, because that gap just opens so wide so quickly. Onto the descent they go. In with Ursula Kasani at the moment. Ursula with a heart rate of 172. Nice pedal cadence. So nice smooth pedaling style. 85, 86 revs per minute is a good pedal cadence. Always look for between 80 and about 100 from our riders. And our category 1 usually have that smooth cadence. And you can see the time on that climb. The aquarium climb being completed in 7 minutes 1 second. 7 minutes 1.563 for Madana Degum-Mashandi. Did say at the start of the show that she's on great climbing form, and I wouldn't discount her for the win. She's been there or thereabouts so many times. Kasani in second, Bassoni in third, Koistonen in fourth place, with Hermansen in fifth, Van Hove in sixth, Kalman in seventh, Bjarhead in eighth, and Celine Colombi, known climber, in ninth position. That's in category 1. They are the fastest times over the climb, and the category 1 leaders absolutely flying. They actually occupy the top 17 places on the leaderboard of the climb at the moment. Behind them then come category 2. pretty much in its entirety. Then it's Category 3. The fastest time in Category 3 is Claudia Gentili. Gentili wearing that polka dot skin suit, as you can see on your screen at the moment. She's with the leading group. They are now ascending out. This is a very similar point to where we saw our Category 4 leaders. And coming underneath the multicolour hoops, just coming past the MyWhoosh building with the green on the side there of the containers at the left-hand side. So just coming past the MyWhoosh building, going to come up towards the sprint arch. You can see that they are just starting to come on to the back of one of our riders here. I think Cynthia Michelle going to be seen. The riders come past, so looks like Nevaeh's going to be seeing them go over her shoulder. And it is going to be Pelagio who leads Category 3 through there. On the left of your screen, Category 4 leaders in front of Nevaeh. Well, that is Bremner at the moment, who has a slight gap, 4 seconds to Madeira as they come over that section of the climb. So basically through the sprint, we've got a second part, almost a little afterthought. It's not little. I've ridden this a lot. I like this word. I do like riding around Arabia on MyWhoosh. And as you go through, there's a bump after it. So you climb up, you go over and roll down. And it's still a bit of a kicker. It's still going to take its toll. A little bit further back, Category 2 are further down the slope. So we're coming away from this depression, heading up towards that silent dune sprint. At the moment, this is still a big group of riders in here. They've gone past the vast majority of the Category 4 riders, but it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in all of our category 1, 2, 3 and 4 on your screens. Category 1 at nearly 16k, nearly 18k for Category 2, nearly 19 kilometers covered for Category 3, and Category 4, your race leader, is fast approaching the 20 kilometer mark of the 35 kilometer race. A profusion of polka dot jerseys in there for our leaders in the climbs. A few less green skin suits of our sprint leaders. But at the moment, 3 main groups in categories 1, 2 and 3. Solo leader in Category 4, and that is Bridget Bremner that's on your screen, bottom right hand side of your screen. 4 categories, 4 sets of prizes. We're going to have 4 race winners, 4 second places, 4 third places and so on. We're going to see who's going to be taking those. Now, if you want to keep up with what's happening in the racing and what's happening on MyWhoosh, there's a lot of ways you can do that. You can jump on to social media. So you can jump onto Instagram or Facebook. It's at MyWhoosh. You can catch up with my_whoosh on Twitter, the platform formerly known as X. You can, of course, follow us on the YouTube channel and on Twitch TV. It's MyWhoosh Live on Twitch TV. It's MyWhoosh on YouTube, and you can get lots of updates on there and on social media. I would suggest anybody who follows my social media, which is Matt Fixer Payne, will know that I am an avid podcast listener. Everything from One Man to the Moon to the latest music to sport, to BMX, to cycling, to esports. And we have Matt Smithson, his key part of the team on MyWhoosh, on a podcast. It was a brilliant podcast. The riders who've been racing, in fact, Cy Bradley, who's been starting to race the Sunday Race Club, interviewing with Christopher Schenker on the communique, the interview with Matt Smithson. A really good interview, well worth a listen. Lots of great information. Also letting people know the launch that the MyWhoosh UCI World Championships Finals will be live, with the best riders making the way to Abu Dhabi, and they're going to be racing in the United Arab Emirates live at a live event in October. So the championships in October. If you want more details, more information about the platform, about Matt's vision, about how we enforce things like verification of weight checks, some of the rationale behind it, please do give it a listen. It's well worth a listen. I've listened to it 3 times now, being the podcast addict that I am. Also, so I knew exactly what it said. It's kind of handy. And I have to say, yeah, each time I found something new in there and really interesting. So please go on, communicate on wherever you get your podcasts. Have a listen to Cy Bradley, to Christopher Schenker, and their interview with Matt Smithson. Matt talking about the racing, talking about categorization, Sunday Race Club, talking about the World Championships, talking about MyWhoosh and the platform, talks about hardware, software, talks about pretty much anything you could ever want to ask. Answers a lot of the questions a lot of people have been asking. So please, please, please do give it a listen. It's a great show. It's got loads of information about MyWhoosh and well worth adding to your listening list. If you're on a podcast, I'm going to put in a little personal plug here, because for 7 years now, 7 years, we have been doing the Crosscast. That is the Cyclocross podcast. And the Crosscast, the latest episode is out now. Now, this is based around the UCI Cyclocross, which I have the pleasure of putting words to action to, and the UK scene. So it doesn't have everything for everyone. But as much as anything, you know, like if you were watching a show about cars, you're not really interested about how many miles per gallon they do or how fast they go. Half the time you're watching for the presenters. It's a bit like that listening to the Crosscast. You will be hearing me and Neil, my co-host, and Matt Ellis, who's the head of GB Selection, a former professional cross rider for 4 years on the continent, chatting about cyclocross. So please do give it a listen. If you're going to go on, it might be the thing to listen to after you listen to Matt Smithson. Don't listen to us first. Listen to Matt first. He's more important. So our riders on the way through. Let's get back to our racing as they head through our next sprint. 18.3k of riding done. They're into the Silent Dunes sprint and through they go. So this is our penultimate sprint number 4 of 5. This will give us the snapshot on who is going where, when, and how fast they're going. The last sprint just before the climb. And as you can see, Rona go through the fastest time again. Now, I'm going to discount that time. And the reason I'm going to do that, because we have a 0 heart rate showing on screen. Now, it could be that the second device has recorded that. It could be that we're going to see Rona being eliminated from the racing after the race because there is no heart rate showing. So I'm going to take that one with a pinch of salt, because that Kalman, Giovan, Bassoni, Mashandi, Hermansen, Kekkonen, Larson in that order. And that potentially puts Kekkonen as our fastest category 2. Kalman, Giovan, and Bassoni up there. Mashandi and Hermansen. An indicator, because we have our big overall contenders like Mashandi up there in category 1. This group are all focused on riding strongly. They're all focused on going hard here. And that is going to make a big difference, I think, as we move on from this part of the climb. We're going over the top. This is that little rise that comes after the sprint I was talking about. It's not that easy. The only thing that keeps me going when I'm riding up here is I'm looking at the city in the distance. I'm thinking, I want to be in there. I want to get there quick. And so when you're riding on the MyWhoosh and you ride through here, it's absolutely brilliant. The graphics are stunning, as you'd expect from MyWhoosh. I've suffered up here on the wheels of a couple of very good riders coming through here, and I tell you something, it is tough. And you go up here, you come round the bend, and it eases as you come around here. It's still climbing. It's only as you get into these barriers, actually, that the gradient stops and you start to pick up speed. And if you manage to stay on the wheels, there's a lot of satisfaction in that. And it's a key place to push over the top again. Harder here because, as you can see from the profile, top right-hand side, it's a slight descent and then it picks up speed. If it's a knife edge, if it's a really sharp climb, then it is more critical to push harder, faster over the top. It's absolutely 100% a key move. Here, it's not going to pick up speed as much, so you can be in the wheels and just surf the wheels a little bit more rather than necessarily racing to try and get to the front. The speed picking up, 41 kilometers an hour. Our Category 1 riders already closing down on a number of Category 4, Category 3, and now it won't be long until we see some Category 2 riders as well coming through. At the moment, you see our sprint jersey with Giovanni, our leaders jersey on the first climb with Fua in Category 1. In Category 2, it's Hadlock who's got the climber's skin suit there. Our Category 2 riders, well, they have got Jacqueline Kirchner in with them in that red jersey. So this is where it pays, and this is one of the really great things. By setting Category 1 off behind Category 2, who are behind Category 3, who are behind Category 4, it means that as the riders are picked up, the riders could jump on board. Now, we've got 2 categories and 10 minutes separating the start from Kirchner to Walkenhurst, who are virtually side by side in this group. But what it means is that Kirchner can now benefit from the draft of this group, particularly on the flat and downhill sections. However, Julia Walkenhurst is not content with that. She's going to push on here. 4.8 watts per kilo, an opportune time to be with her. Angel Hadlock coming through at pace in that polka dot skin suit is very wise to the move here by Walkenhurst. It's a slight rise. Remember that we are not on the main climb. These are those bumps. It's basically FRB ground, flat, rolling and bumpy. FRB ground, critical term on MyWhoosh. Anything FRB is flat, rolling and bumpy. It might have been made up by us in the commentary box, but you know what is really key, because those are the parts of the terrain where you can sneak a break in, you can sneak a gap in, you can be distanced because the gap goes and you can't then close it down. Somebody else lets that gap go, you can be in trouble. So FRB ground, sneaky attack territory, a little sneaky attack there by Walkenhurst, and you can see the damage that's done. It has shed our category 4 rider Kirchner, because as they went over the bump, Kirchner, while she could shelter in the draft and stay with them, couldn't stay with them when they went onto the climb, and it was about pure power to weight ratio rather than the ability to hide in the wheels. Now, it's left-hand side of our screen, category 2. Right-hand side, we've got category 3 and 4. Our riders in here are the leaders of category 3, with De Grazia leading them through with De Silva in there. They've got Sarasuk in for the ride as well, and this is where Sarasuk needs to ride smart. Use the speed of these riders. You can just see it just diving in there. The white helmet, the red jersey, keeping in with this pack, surfing the wheels at the back, not going into the front, not riding too hard. And Sarasuk at the moment is using the ability of these riders and the draft effect to stay with the group. This means she's going to be improving her time versus the leaders on the road. Now, we can see one of those red jerseys at the top of the right-hand side of the screen, and that gap is coming down from 1 minute 25 because the leaders in her category are on the climb. She's using this fast section by being in with this group to bring that time down, and that is what makes this racing so dynamic and so fun, because as the riders come in and through towards the climb, if they're caught on the run into the climb, they can use that speed and pace. When you get on the climb, that is out the window. Our race leaders are heading for the climb. Bridget Bremner and Myra Madeira, the riders furthest down the race route. They're at 25.1. If you remember your course profile, it's 25.4k to the start of the climb. That's when the riders go through that polka dot banner, which they can see in front of them now. They won't be turning right. I would. No, I wouldn't. I want to go ride the yellow feet. It's going to happen one day. And on to the climb. I have a bucket list of climbs, and there's increasingly more that are on the race routes that are coming out on MyWhoosh. I added 4 to my list, actually, since riding them on MyWhoosh, and my bucket list of climbs to go up. And the yellow feet is one. Here we go. Make sure you give it a Google. Have a look at the images of it out in the UAE. It'll make you want to jump on board a plane, take your bike and go ride it. It's an absolutely stunning bit of road, and then ride down, obviously. I am looking forward to that quite a lot. So, riders on the climb, race leaders on to the ascent. 30 seconds, so basically half a minute leaders, they hit the base of the climb. Now, the way that the time is calculated, it's not a fixed point and then stopwatch starts and then riders behind come through, and that is the time gap. It's calculated instantaneously based on the speed and distances. So it's relative speeds of the riders with the distance between them. That gives us our time gap. Now, because of that, when the riders are riding on the flat or a downhill, they're moving faster. If the leaders are onto a climb and they're going slower, then that's going to change that time gap. You'll see yo-yo at the moment is coming down consistently because the leaders are on the climb. We're down to 17 seconds between Bremner at the moment and Cristobal Grace Paulo, another of our very strong riders here on MyWhoosh. But behind, here comes Nicola Lloyd chasing Gill in there. Arias as well. Category 4 on the climb. Category 3. Well, here they come. They are not far behind. They've got riders up into the top 8. They've only got 7 riders in front of them in Category 4, but they are bringing the 8th rider in Category 4 onto the climb as well. And this is where we see whether Sarasuk has played an absolute blinder here by not using too much energy to stay in with this group. And he's now going to carry that speed onto the climb. Left-hand side of your screen, you can see that satellite navigation. You can see our 2 leaders and our chasing group behind there, the 2 sets of red dots at the top of that satellite navigation view. But as we go on now, this is where the pace comes in. You can see the pressure starting to ramp. You can see those yellow chevrons, the red chevrons coming as Gina de Grazia leads them up here. That means she's going into the red zone. They're answering her. Pelagio now, so now starting to see the riders diving in, putting it on the power, and we're starting to see gaps. Will they open early? This first part of the climb is steep. It's hard. It's nasty. If you watch the UAE Tour, go back, have a watch of it on TV. You'll see there is the initial kick on, which is steep. It levels and then it kicks again. Now, will that be the same here? Are we going to see the gaps open? Category 2 approaching Category 3, who are approaching Category 4. All of them are going to be on to this climb. Remember, this climb is 9.5 kilometers long and finishes what is 500 meters before the finish, and the finish is a very technical run into the finish indeed. Here come Category 2. They're about to go underneath the polka dot banner from the UCI, from the World Governing Body of Cycle Sport. Kekkonen in with this group, a real mix of class riders. Kekkonen, Sanchez, Swarstrom in there. You've got Smithers in there. Hadlock is on fantastic climbing form as well. Any of these riders could take this out. The team from Grind My Gears, Hadlock, Howell and Kekkonen will be looking to seal a top position in the team. The team composition, although there are no prizes in the qualifiers, it is calculated. You can see the results. You can see how you're going. Really, really critical. Now, as Category 2, 3 and 4 leaders are on the climb, Category 1 leaders come through the last of our sprint banners. And this is the Al Ain sprint. They're at 24.3 kilometers. And let's take a look at the times coming through. So I think we can look at that pretty clearly here and see that Celine Colombi, although she's not the fastest on the ready, is the fastest rider whose time will be verified. That means that Colombi, Bassoni, Fuhr, Kalman, Larsen, Hermansen, Lundin, Engstrom. What ties them all together? It's those yellow jerseys. Interestingly, whilst we have a mix of nations, there is an incredibly strong Swedish contingent here with Larsen, Hermansen, Lundin and Engstrom right up in the mix. And that means that we've got some very strong riders in the group as we go through our lanes. So Colombi starting to come to the fore, a rider who can climb strongly. Bassoni, who's just jumped into the racing on MyWhoosh, a very strong rider. We've got Fuhr. Climbing prowess has been worked on and is incredibly strong. Before she even did that, he's got even better. We've got Kalman, we've got Larsen, we've got Lisa Hermansen, Lundin, Engstrom, Van Hove in that group, Bjarhead, Koistonen in there, Erehek, Degamashandi, Embring, Cassani, Giovanni. So such a strong group. It's a big pack. It's heading into the climb. This is the key part of the race. When we hit this climb, 35 kilometers of racing in total to cover. We're into our last 10 kilometers now. The riders powering their way in to the finish, and they can see that banner in front of them here. This is the key moments. This is when we know our riders have really got the pace, the power to get this done and dusted here today, because this is the climb. The mountain is in front of them. The Jebelhafeet awaits. They made their way through the World Heritage Site, the to the side of the riders to go on to the slopes here. This is one of our key sites, 27 key locations in Al Ain. It is the part of the United Arab Emirates, which is directly underneath the Jebel Hafeet, and you climb out from all that history up on this amazing modern road, up on to the climbing up into the summit, and you can see the riders making the way up this group together at the moment. Who is going to break this apart? Now, if you remember your course profile, you'll know that this is a very interesting profile. Although it looks pretty straight, If you look at it in a bit more detail, you can see that top right hand side of your screen, it's going to be very different as these riders make the way through. Our leader on the road, Bridget Bremner, she's currently at 26.7k. The gap is there at the top, but you can see Claudia Gentili is the leader in category 3, and she's only got 6 riders in front, and I think she's within a K of our leader. You can see on the left hand side of your screen that she's closing right in behind her. We've got category 3, we've got category 4 and category 2 riders chasing Bremner, Madeira, Galliano. We've got Arias, we've got Paolo and Gil from category 4. We've got Gentili on your screen, and here she comes. She is closing. The biggest gap is to the rider in front, that is Bremner, but my goodness me, Claudia Gentili has got wings on her wheels. She's got the gap. She's really trying to open this up. We're in with Bremner now. Bremner is going to see that express train coming from behind. She'll want to jump on board as it comes up, but my goodness, Gentili is coming. 20 seconds is the gap that's shown on our screens. Now, remember, the distance is brought down by the fact that we're climbing. It looks less distance because it is less distance between each of the riders as we go on to a climb for the same amount of time. Bremner leading up here, Bridget Bremner, who spearheaded the ride in Cancer Awareness Month in October on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. On to the climb, we can see behind Bridget the city in the distance, the desert in the distance, the height that she's climbed already. We're still on the early slopes. We have to get to 35k, so just under 8 kilometers of climbing to go. Bremner is caught. Paolo does the catching. Then it's Galliano. Then it's Gil, Arias, and then Madeira. That's the group that are with her. They're all together. Behind Gentili is at 11 seconds. She's half the distance since we've been watching. This is Gentili, and look at those riders in front. They can. They must feel a breathing down their necks right behind, and what a carrot for Gentili to chase. What a target. If you've been riding outdoors, if you've ridden on MyWhoosh, you'll know it's so much easier. You sit there, you can focus on the riders, you know your distance, and then that's going to change because the rate that Gentili is climbing, she's going to go in front, and that's when the mindset's got to change. Any second now, she's going to have to switch from chasing a known target to setting the pace. And you can see a response here. Really interesting move. Paolo has gone hard on the front here. And I think Paolo wanted to get a little bit of a gap on the rest of the riders so that she's got a chance of jumping in with Gentili here. Paolo's kicking on here. She's trying to wind it up to go with Gentili, but look at Gentili's watts per kilo. We're on the climb. This is where it's critical. 3.6, 3.5. She's sitting just between 3 and 3.5 watts per kilo. Paolo was at 2.5. She kicked to 5. She's had to go back down again. Now we're over the very first part of this climb. You can see the city in the distance. You can see where we've come from. Let's have a look at where we're going to, because this climb is critical. Now that this catch has been made and we know who's now on the front. So this is our whole course, the full 35k. We've already covered all of the yellow sections to the left and in the center of your screen, and we are on that right hand section on the right of your screen. Look at that in a bit more detail. You can see that the start of the climb is steep. It then levels off, and we have on the way up these leveled sections. So as the climb goes up and it weaves its way around sinuously around the mountain, it will level out. At those points, that's when the rider's rhythm will be broken. The closer we come to the top, what you'll notice is we actually have a longer, slightly flatter, slightly lower gradient section before the final kick. That is going to be critical. Every time we hit a flatter or a lesser gradient, the riders have to change the pace and rhythm on the way up. The climb starts 25.4k. It runs right the way to 500 meters before the summit. So you'll see the polka dot banner coming in before we get to the top. There will be 500 meters or so to the finish between 34.5 and that 35k marker. That is critical. They're going to ascend 690 meters in this climb alone of the 905 meters of ascent. And in fact, if you add together both the climb of the Jebel Hafit and the Aquarian climb together, it shows you just how big the categorized climbs are on this. The Jebel Hafit is where our riders are. The riders are well on the way up there, but remember, this goes all the way up to the 35k marker. We're going to see who's going to be able to adapt to the rhythm, to the pace. We're in with Category 2, who have just caught Category 3 and Category 4 as well. Oh, it's all come back together again. So look at this, our Category 3 and 4 leaders are in here. Paolo has managed to hang on. In fact, they're not at the front. I take it all back. Claudia Gentili has managed to stay clear. Right, okay, so Gentili from Category 3 is ahead. The Category 2 have caught everybody. They will be aware of Gentili in front, but they have gone through Category 4 leaders. They've caught all but one of the Category 3, and that is Gentili in front. So they are making the way towards her, but Gentili has the lead. Now, Claudia Gentili's got to think about this. This is where you've got to play it smart. On the climb, Category 2 should be able to produce a better power to weight ratio and ascend faster up this climb. However, that's not always the case, because some riders are great climbers. They're naturally smooth, they've got natural pace, and they can just climb. And when it's a race, when they're climbing, when they've got riders around them, you just dig deeper. The riders are just going to go into that zone and push harder and pull something extra out. Is she going to do that? Has she got the pace to do that, or is she not as confident she's going to ride at her own speed? Let's look at the watts per kilo. Watch the numbers now. We've seen Gentili jump into this group. She's the rear of the two polka dot jerseys with that blue cap on her head. And this is where we got to see how long will she stay with them. In theory, she shouldn't be able to stay with them to the finish. We've still got a long way to go, and that power to weight ratio should take its toll. But the longer Gentili stays in there, the bigger a gap she's doing of putting between, the bigger gap that will go between her and Pauli Hano, who's the rider behind, currently at 7 seconds down on Gentili. Gentili working hard here, dropped, gets back onto a wheel. Can she hold the wheel? The gradient's changing. It's at 9% at the moment. It's going to back off again. It's going to drop back down again. Gentili again losing ground now. She's going to keep squeezing. She's got the gap. That gap has now gone to 10 seconds. 11 seconds to the riders behind. The longer she can keep squeezing, the better in terms of getting the gap. But what she can't do is go in the red and blow. If she goes too far, opens the throttle too far, burns too much fuel, she's going to go into major trouble, because she will then be in a position where she's got lactic acid built up so much she could get caught from the riders behind. So pacing your time up here, really, really key. Now, leader on the road, Julia Walkenhurst, right hand side of your screens, just being passed by Angel Hadlock. So it's Hadlock, Walkenhurst and Smithers, the three riders at the front on the right hand side of your screen. Smithers with the multicolored cap. You got Walkenhurst with the white helmet. You got Hadlock with the polka dot skin suit. You got Schwarstrom with the yellow cap on behind. The black helmet behind that is going to be Sanchez, and then it'll be Taconas behind her. They are the leaders on the road. They are the head of that multicolored snake, making its way up the sinuous turns of the climb. Behind, Category 1 are not that far behind. Category 1 have made their way up to almost the top 20. The rider in front is Bridget Bremner. So Bridget now having been distanced by the riders in front of her, and they include riders in Category 4. So the lead that Bridget took onto the climb, not holding. Good ride by Bridget. It's the way you get quicker, the way you get stronger is to push to your limits and find those limits. So Bridget, digging time. Keep pushing all the way to the top of the climb. Every pedal stroke is going to make you fitter, it's going to make you faster, it's going to make you stronger as you make your way up to the climb. This Category 1, though, look at the speed they are traveling. They're coming up here at 20 kilometers an hour when it eases off slightly. We are sitting at over 11%. They're still at 13 kilometers an hour, and that is absolutely motoring up here. Lisa Hermansen, Julia Cassani, Ursula Cassani, Celine Columbi. We've also got Fua in here in this mix. They're working their way through the Category 4 riders, and this is when, as they go through, if anybody can jump on, they might be able to get a little bit of drag, but the speed, I think, on this steep section is not going to make that much difference being in the draft. It's psychological. Kekkonen using that in the green. So the green rider, the rider in the green jersey, is going to be Novel in Kekkonen. Kekkonen digging in deep to try and stay with them as long as possible. Use that inspiration of those riders, that motivation of staying in the wheels to stay in as long as possible. But the pace of our Category 1 riders is opening up the gap now. Bassoni's in here. Degemus Shandy is in here. We've got Engstrom in here. Van Hove digging deep in here. The Belgian rider really pushing to stay in. You can see going into that red zone once again. In front of them, they've got a big pack of riders in the blue of Category 3. In front of them, they've got some Category 2 riders, but there's not many riders left in front. The first rider on the road at the front of that Category 2 group is Angel Hadlock. She's currently got a little gap to Sanchez, to Smithers. Stefani Sanchez, we know how well she can climb. She showed that when she rode in the MyWhoosh Championship. Please do have a look back at that. Do you think we just give away prize on a Sunday? $1 million prize fund paid out during the championship, and lots of great goodies going out as well to the riders, unexpected by the riders and by us, I must admit. As the MyWhoosh team rewarded those riders who did amazing jobs. There's some great kits, some swag, some jerseys, you name it, going out there, and some great action. Absolute pleasure to call the action on the championship and all of the MyWhoosh racing. My name's Matt Payne. If you're just joining us for the final part of this climb and wondering where Emma is not here with us this week. She is on UCI duty at the UCI World Championship. Both Emma and myself working for the UCI, covering the World Championships and World Cups, as well as the UCI partner here, which is MyWhoosh for esports. And we love riding our bikes, we love watching racing, talking about racing. Good job, because we do a lot of talking about racing, but no Emma today, so this means you've got me, Matt Payne, to the end. You can catch up with what Emma's up to. Jump on social media at Biking Emma. Catch up with me at Matt Fixer Payne, and make sure whilst you're there you give MyWhoosh a follow. It's MyWhoosh on Instagram, on Facebook, and my_whoosh on Twitter. And it's formerly known as X. Whilst you're on there, get registered, get your profile sorted, get your bike sorted, get the right wheels, right kit. Most importantly for me, this, love doing this. Change my wheels. I changed my wheels and bike actually on my avatar this week to something slightly different. Not a lot different, but slightly different. I might have been having a UAE team member it's fanboy moment and changed my kit slightly. But jump on board, get that sorted, and then go have a ride. Come and have a ride. Join one of the amazing rides, one of the teams. All the teams are starting to put rides on there. Lots more rides, lots more people to ride with. If you don't want to ride with a real person, you can always ride with one of the bots and one of the squads. If you want to ride at steady watts per kilo, you want to jump on board. Loads of rides, lots of worlds, lots of places to explore, and you can be riding up the Jebel Hafid here. Can you match the pace of our leaders? Well, maybe you need to join the Sunday Race Club to find out. The fastest riders on the road are our Category 1 riders. They're up to 7th position now in the race overall after starting some 15 minutes behind our first riders. You can see we're just about to come past Wolfies, one of the key places to visit. If, like me, you love your bikes and you do go to the UAE, go see the amazing Wolfies. It is something else again. Brilliant place to go and just drool over some of the best bikes in the world. And got to say, I went down there and I just went, wow. Also featured, it was actually in the centre of the Eliminator racing, the mountain bike racing that Emma's on the World Championships for. I think that was the 2021 season, if I remember correctly. The first race of 2021, going around Wolfies. Great races, some amazing action, and some surprises in there in the men's and women's race. It's now a show. Give it a watch back. You might recognise the voice talking about the racing. You never ever know. Okay, leaders of the race in front. They've got a lot further to go than an XCE, because they are approaching the 30-kilometre mark, which means that we're going to be heading in to the final 5 kilometres. Yep, 5 more kilometres to go on the race. 35k in total. Our total height ascent when we get to the end of the race should be about 900 plus meters. At the moment, the riders with about 560 meters under the wheel, so still plenty of climbing to go. It's going to be a tough day at the office for the riders because the road just goes skywards, working its way around the mountain here. Walkenhurst at the moment in this group with Sanchez, with Sangstrom, with Smithers, Taconis and Hadlock. The push coming from Bassoni to try and close the gap down. Can she make it? This is where it's going to be the case. Who could jump on? Is anybody going to be able to follow the leaders? Fua has tried to take advantage of the confusion. She's used the draft of getting up behind Category 2 to break clear. Catherine Fua from Switzerland has got the gap here. She's looking to make this definitely a real definitive moment in this race. Has she got the power? She's got the gap. It's 2 seconds, and Engstrom at the moment is not closing. She's not the same watts per kilo. The group are there. Now, has Fua broken it? It doesn't look much. It can be enough. But it's what happens in these next few meters. We've got a very consistent gradient here. Look at Columbi now, closing that gap down, going into the yellow, diving in, pulling out some power. Mashandi's doing the same. A little bit further down, Van Hove is having to do the same to close the gaps down. The gaps are opening up very quickly here. They're being closed down. Celine Columbi, she will want victory on the top here. A rider who we know has got amazing climbing form. She can climb with the very, very best, if not better, but she's up against the best. Catherine Fua, Mashandi, Engstrom, Bassoni, Van Hove, Hermansen, Kasani, they're all still in the mix. And at this stage, it could be anybody's race. Mountain stages, mountain top finishes are always ones where it's a knife edge, where you are really treading. It's like walking along a tightrope. Get it right, you get to the other side and you get across and you make it. If you push too hard, you're going to fall off the side, but you're going to go too hard and blow up. If you don't push hard enough, you're going to lose. You're going to come off the other side of the rope and you're going to be back. To take the win, to be the first to the other side, you've got to walk such a fine line. And the risk is huge. The gaps open so quickly here. You will lose minutes on a climb. I've been on races with very big, very, very, very big finishes up to the top of Alps, to the top of climbs. And the time gaps open up. They start as seconds and they end up as minutes. You've got to push. You've got to push really hard here as the riders come through the long line of feather flags on the right hand side. You can see going past that MyWhoosh flag, the UCI flag, making their way around this left hand turn. They're going to come around on the side of the rock walls here. But this is not over. Fua, Columbi, Dega Mashani, Engstrom, Bassoni, all in touch. Van Hove is now at 9 seconds. So do we have 5 riders clear? We do. Are they going to stay clear? Oh, I don't want to predict that one at the moment because this could change in an instant. Behind Van Hove has got Hermansen and Kasani. They're not far apart. They could work together, and we have got some levelling off as we come towards the top. There are flatter sections where if you've got the speed on those lower gradients, you could make a lot of time back. But at the moment, we're just seeing 13% flick over on the screen in terms of gradient. The riders coming into some of the tighter turns here. You can see this sweeping right-hand bend will be replaced by a sweeping left, and then it's a hairpin right, and then into that long turn. 30.9k covered, 35 kilometers the total distance, just over 4k to go, 4,000 meters. That's going to be about 1,000 pedal strokes or so for our riders, depending on what gear they're in. Oh, look at that big kick there. Columbi went. Do you see the reaction from Fua there? Columbi went, Fua reacted in an instant. That was absolutely fighter pilot-like reaction there. That kick went from Columbi. Fua went for her. Columbi's kicked again, 6.2. Fua goes again at 6. She's chasing. They are not giving each other a millimetre. What a battle between these two, and the 3 behind are watching. Now, they've got to be smart here. They may not want to answer these kicks at this stage, at this distance out from the line, but they can't let the gap go too big. Equally, they will want to save energy for their own attack later if they can. But Fua and Columbi now with the gap. They are your two leaders. The group got broken down from our initial group of over 20 starters, working our way down to about 12 onto the climb, working our way down to 5. We're now down to 2 leaders. We then have 2 chasers and then a solo rider. So Fua and Columbi in 1 and 2, Bassoni in 3, Engstrom in 4, then it's Mashandi in 5 in the polka dot skin suit of the fastest climber of the Aqueduct climb. Van Hove at 17 seconds, Hermansen at 30 seconds on these riders. Columbi pushes again. Fua's answering again, going into the red. Say something like a prize fight. They're putting punch after punch in at the moment in that ring. That is the side of the Yebel Hafit. Who's going to land the knockout blow? Can anybody do this with one big attack, or will it come down to a sprint? Will it come down to a photo finish? We've seen it before. It's so risky leaving it to the last second. You can't afford to do that. They're going to come around this turn. It's going to level. This is where they've got to push. This is where the chasers need to push even harder. 8% at the moment, the gradient is going to come off very quickly. It levels, and then we go up again. Then we have a longer, more level session before the kick to the line. Remember that the polka dot banner is not the finish line. It's at 500 meters to go. So Fua in the draft, the watts in green pushing at just under 5 watts per kilo. Little bit of a kick up to 6 to get on to Columbi's wheel. Doesn't want to go past the Columbi now, pushes again at 6. Little bit of a kick and react going on here. Columbi sees that there was a little bit of a delay there in the reaction. Sees if she can break Fua. Fua just continuing to push. And this is a go into this level section. 0%. Dead flat run round here. Coming into the right hand bend, you can see the road's going to rise up in front of the riders to the left and then to the right. This snaking chicane, as you come across, you've got Scarp on your right hand side, that rock face on the right. This is one of the key sections. You know that you're going to come into this climb. It's a long, draggy climb section, and then it flattens. Little climb, another flat section. Really, really key here. When you're running up here, you can make a lot of time very quickly on this section of road. Fua and Columbi have 5 seconds on Bassoni. There's 16 seconds on Engstrom. Mashandi, they've got over half a minute now on Van Hove. They're over a minute back at the 7th and 8th places, nearly a minute and a half. But this is going to be key. So category 1, fighting it out on the upper slopes. You can see our 4 sets of leaders. Fua in with the lead of category 1, 32.2k, 31.5k behind. That's the category 2 leaders. Then we have the category 3 leading group at 31.1k, only 500 meters behind them, but they have been passed by category 2. And we have Myra Madeira still with company at 30.7k in category 4. So Madeira at the moment isn't alone either, or it does look like she is. She has got company yo-yoing in and off her wheel with 4 categories. We've got 4 sets of prizes to pay out. Who is it going to be? So Madeira, Galliano are the 2 leaders in category 4, followed by Arias and Gill in category 3. Gentili has been called by Juliana, by Heno de Silva, Alzate as well. In category 2, it's Schwarstrom, Smithers, Walkenhurst, Taconis, Sanchez. They are all in touch. It could be any one of them. And in category 1, we have 2 lone leaders with a tenuous lead over the riders behind. Bassoni is currently at 12 seconds. It's 25 seconds to Engstrom. Will it be enough? We have 2.5 kilometers, 2,500 meters to find out. So Roberta Bassoni, she really has made category 1 her own here. She's got into the groove. She's riding the platform strongly. She's learning when to push, when not to push. She's right up in the mix here. Fua, Columbi, Bassoni, Engstrom, Dega Mashandi, they are your top 5. 5 prizes for the riders. The riders don't want to put a good ride in here. And it's all learning. It's all learning for those world championships. do have a listen back to the Zomunike podcast where Matt Smithson was on and has released the details that we will be in October. We will have live finals. Everybody wants to be there. Will they be able to go? Will they be able to ride the platform successfully? Will they have all the nuances that come when you ride in a discipline? Absolutely nailed. These are the best riders in the world. They're out on the climb. Fua and Columbi in that order. A 2-second gap from Fua to Columbi. Now, that is not an all-over kind of moment, but time is going to start running out soon. We're at 33 kilometers in about another 150 meters or so around this bend, and that means that we will be into the 2K to go marker. This tight bend here, really key. It's steep. It's a horrible, nasty place to be on the inside of the bend. Taking that right-hand turn. Here they come around the bend. Another push comes from Furge to kick it out from there. And look at this, it's 5 watts because she just dived in at 5.5. She's got now 4 seconds. This is a push coming from Catherine Fua. She'll see the big white building in front. She'll see the flag. We know as you come up to this MyWhoosh banner that you're not far off where it starts to level. It's a key landscape marker. The riders will have markers in their head when you see this big white building, when you see the curve, this bend underneath the MyWhoosh banner. You know that you are at about 2K to go on her feet here. This is a real key moment because you're starting to get into the point at which you know you're not going to blow. You're not going to need to worry about really struggling. You know that that finish is coming. 8 seconds now to Columbi. Fua has got her time in at 2:80 so far. She has a kick. She answered the attacks by Columbi. What can Columbi do? This is where the Italian has got to dig deep now. She will not want to be caught by Bassoni, a countrywoman. She will want to be back on the wheels of Fua, but that gap has grown. And Columbi has got to find something now in the final slopes here. We have less than 2 kilometers to go to the 35K mark, to the finishing line, and Catherine Fua has opened the gap and they're now left wanting. They've got to answer this at the end of the ride at the top of the mountain. We are so high up here on the Jebel Hafit. We still have more ascent to go. We've climbed 825 of the 900 plus meters. There's a lot less climbing to come now. It's going to be a lot flatter. It's about who's got something left. Now Columbi's digging in. She's at 5 watts per kilo. Fua's just dropped to sub 5 here. Just taking, I think, a little bit of an ease here. Just a little bit of a breather. Say a little bit of a breather. Her heart rate's at 173, but it's coming down. She went to 172, just hovering around 172, 173. The cadence around 170. So, really strong ride. Now, further down, these are the chasing groups behind. So, Roberta Bassoni on the left of your screen is the rider in 3rd place on her own. 4th, 5th, and 6th place are together. That means 3 riders, potentially 2 prizes. One of these riders could be losing out on the prize money at the end of the day. We've got Engstrom, we've got Dave Machete, we've got Van Hove. They've got to push and they need to leave a rider before they get to that line. They will want to be in the top 5. They will not want to be the rider who's outside the top 5. And if they can catch Bassoni, who's 20 seconds in front on the way, that is going to be a great move for them. They've got 40 seconds or so on the riders behind. That's Kasani and Hermansen. So they should have enough. It's how they react to this next section. Right-hand side, 7.5% gradient. Left-hand side of your screen, basically it's flat. It's 0 to 1%. Rolling through this section, it feels flat. You've been climbing in double digits for so long. You hit this. It is uphill, but it doesn't half feel quick as you move along here. Look at the speed coming from Bassoni, really pushing as she goes over there. Let's move up the road. We're up the road now with Columbi and we're up with Fua. This is now heading for the final kilometre. It's going to be into the final 1,000 metres. Now, here we go. It is 34 kilometres covered of 35K. Celine Columbi has Fua in her sights. The gap is holding at 8 seconds. The banners are coming. left-hand side of your screen, you can see that polka dot banner coming up the archway. We can see that the yellow banner of the finish is a bright yellow MyWhoosh banner. That's the finishing line. That's going to be coming soon as well. Fua has a 9-second gap now. This is surely hers to lose. Fua has to handle the pressure. She has to handle the pace. She's at the front. We wished her well with the recovery over the last few weeks. It looks like she's back to her best here, because this is a well-timed and dominating performance by Fua. She answered the attacks that were thrown at her. She managed to keep clear. She's bringing the distance to that finishing line down incredibly quickly. We're going to go underneath our polka dot banner, and that will mean that we have 500 meters to go. She will be our fastest rider up this climb. Whether she gets that skin suit of overall leader, well, she'll get it at the moment. The rest of the riders are there at the moment, though. Fua's got that polka dot jersey. I think that gap should be big enough behind. Colombi comes underneath the banner. Bassoni is approaching it, but you can see round this long sweeping right-hand bend is the yellow gantry, the archway that signifies the end of the race. Colombi has to give it everything now. She wants to take top spot. Fua's going to be very attentive to the riders behind. She's going to want to take it to the line. We see gaps close quickly in the final few hundred meters, but surely this is now going to be unclosable by Celine Colombi, by Roberta Bassoni, by Cornelia Ekstrom, by Amelia Van Hove. It looks to me that Catherine Fua has timed this to perfection. So into the finish line she comes. Category 1, the fastest riders on the road. Catherine Fua in that polka dot skin suit. She answered every attack they could throw at her. She rode clear. Nobody could hold on to her wheel. Catherine Fua, your winner of qualifier number 2 on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club in November. What a ride! Coming in behind Celine Colombi, it's going to be a second place here for the Italian, chasing the Swiss woman all the way to that finish. Great second place for Colombi. Immediately behind Colombi is Bassoni. She comes through the line in 3rd place. 1 Swiss, 2 Italians in the top 3. It's going to be our Swedish rider next. Is she going to make it? This is all about the kick to the line. Engstrom's going to take 4th. Who's going to take 5th place? Will it be Van Hove? Will it be Dega Mashandi? Van Hove at the moment is giving best to Dega Mashandi, but she goes on the right side over the top. She goes. It's going to be Van Hove. I think he's going to take 5th. Dega Mashandi is going to be in 6th place. Kasani on her way to a line potentially for 7th. What a ride by our category 1 all the way up the mountain. They passed everybody else. Everyone on the mountain doing an amazing job. It took so long. The groups only came together on the slopes of the Jebel Hafid, this iconic mountain in the men's and women's UAE tours, an iconic mountain in the MyWhoosh Championship, and it's an iconic mountain on the Sunday Race Club. Fua in 1, Colombi in 2, Bassoni in 3, Engstrom in 4, Van Hove in 5, Dega Mashandi in 6th place. Great racing here today on the Sunday Race Club qualifier race number 2 in our women's race. Now, we are going to very quickly dash across to the men's race, so please do join us there. My name's Matt Payne. It's been a pleasure putting words to the action today without Emma. She is at the UCI World Championships for the XCE. You can't go watch it until you've watched the men's race. That's the rules. That's how it works. Please do come and join us again. Make sure you give me a follow, give the team at MyWhoosh a follow, and make sure you jump on board. We'd love to see you soon. But from myself, from our riders, from all of the team at MyWhoosh, stay safe. We'll see you again soon. Goodbye.